Greetings all. Well, it was bound to happen sooner or later. Going back into before the turn of the century, insurance companies have been leading the charge about climate change. Yes. Whether you've been aware of this or not, many of the home insurance companies I know have confronted Congress in the past about the fact that it's just costing them so much money because of the weather, that the weather is changing, storms are getting more severe, and the damage to property is becoming more extensive and worse. And so they're losing money. They're in business to make a profit, and they're not making a profit anymore. At least some of them aren't. I had a mention in my comments this morning from somebody about insurance companies pulling out down in Lower Puna, zones 1 and 2. And, I kind of just took it for granted after the Leilani eruption over there, and now with this fire coming through Lahaina, that like Florida has had 2 insurance companies pull right out of the state. Florida is in general politically opposed to the idea that there's any change in weather or that there might be a sea level rise or anything. Okay, so they're not getting a lot of help from the government in Florida, and it's costing them so much money because of all the disasters as the weather keeps getting more violent. 2 companies pulled out of Florida and left them in the lurch that either you're going to end up paying huge sums of money to get insurance on your property, or you're just going to be uninsured. Well, it was about time it had trickled down here, and it trickled down faster than I thought it would have, because it appears that the insurance company that's been covering zones 1 and 2 down here in the lava, they're actually from Florida. It's the Universal Property and Casualty Insurance Company from the state of Florida. And so they're just following suit. I'm assuming they're one of the ones that pulled out of insuring in Florida, or if they didn't, they raised the rates. But here, they are going to terminate by August 2024. There won't be any more policies written by them. So that's only going to leave one option, which is the Hawaiian Property Insurance Association. That's a state insurance provider. Okay, it was actually, I believe, originally set up to help people get moved into lava zones 1 and 2, and it looks like if you end up falling on them, you can expect your insurance rates to increase by about 400%. Now, I'm in zone 3, and so I probably, I hope I won't be affected by this yet, at least, because my insurance rates currently are right around $950 a year. Now, I don't use hurricane insurance. You guys who have that stuff are paying another $500. Yeah, so if you went ahead and you jacked mine by 400%, what do we got there? We got $3,600. Yeah, that's a lot of money for insurance every year. And herein lays the big problem. Okay, this is really a catch-22. It was at one time that insurance companies didn't want to insure in lava zones 1 and 2. I mean, if you're in lava zone 1, that means that the last time you had a flow was probably somewhere between 0 and about 249 years. If you're in 2, it's probably about 250 years ago, on up to 749 years. Okay, so that's basically where it is, right in there. Those are the zones they just don't want to insure anymore. It looks like your rates, if you were paying $1,350 a year down there with your hurricane insurance too, they're going to be going up to about $6,700. A lot of money. Got a person down there claiming they were paying $747, and they think that their rates are going to go up to $7,384, which would be an increase of 1,000%. I keep hearing in the comments, that, like the kosher space lasers, that burned out Lahaina, supposedly. These were the rich people trying to clear out everybody in Maui so that the rich could buy up all the shoreline, have it for themselves, and get rid of all the nasty little old-time original residents. That is the rumor that's out there right now. Of course, wanting to clear out people out of property, well, that's nothing new. But as far as doing it with lasers, I mean, come on, get a life. We're seeing some of the same sort of senseless rumor coming up around what's happening here with the insurance and lava zones 1 and 2. I'm being told by people, and I'm seeing reports on it, that it's the attempt by the rich to drive out all the original people in these areas so they can buy up all the land, Well, guess what? I ain't rich, but I ain't poor either. I wouldn't live in zone 1 or 2. And if I was rich, boy, you better believe there's no way I'd ever live in zone 1 or 2. The only parts of zone 1 or 2 that were in any way, desirable, that the shoreline frontage was beautiful. And the Waiapai tide pools and the Kapoho champagne ponds, these were gorgeous locations, and they were dangerous zones. They were dangerous zones, but they were beautiful, and they were right on the ocean, Well, guess what? They're gone. Completely. It just doesn't exist anymore. Lava filled it all in. And had I not been such a agriculturalist and needed rainfall, wanted soil, to be able to conduct my business as I have most of my life, I might have been tempted to live down in that neck of the woods myself. Yeah, Harry Kim, the mayor, he had a house down there too. It was a great place. It was real Gilligan's Island, tropical type thing. Anyway, it's a load of garbage. Okay, just more internet poop. That this is all about trying to drive out the poor people from zone 1 and 2. It's got nothing to do with it, folks. The rich people don't want your land. No, they're up in Kahala someplace, okay? They're in some beautiful sunny location that they don't have to worry about the lava chasing them out next week. They don't want that land, so that's not it at all. All right. Now you are being put on by a big corporation that's just suddenly sitting right down on top of you and messing your life up, by canceling your insurance policies. The issues here are that, like I say, there was very little really desirable real estate down in those areas. Only the shorelines. The shoreline property is something that any one of us probably would have wanted to have. Very beautiful shoreline. Otherwise, the rest of it, unless you're growing papayas or something, there were some stretches of land down there that were suitable for production of things like papaya and that. But otherwise, there really was no reason you'd want to be down there anyway. Seriously, the state set up subsidized insurance programs just so we could keep people from being driven out of the islands. So the people who were born here didn't have to leave to go to Nevada or Las Vegas, to find a cheap enough house to buy, because everything is getting so expensive. So the state said, well, we can help people move in on this more marginal land here, and then they can have cheaper lots, and so on and so forth. Well, it backfired, It backfired because, the state moved people in right on top of the darn active volcano to begin with, but then, of course, the insurance companies are ducking out on you now. People went into those areas predominantly because of price. Yeah, it was cheap. So it's a real catch-22. You went in there and you built a house in Lava Zone 1 and 2 because it was the cheapest real estate you could find in Hawaii. It probably was. But now all of a sudden, you can't get insurance on the house, or your insurance is going to cost you a fortune. We're not going to be seeing an end to this anytime soon. Insurance companies are going to continue to increasingly redline areas of the country. Fire zones, they're going to get redlined. Places that get floods, places in Tornado Alley, any place where they have to pay out more money than they think they rightly ought to for damage due to weather or some other environmental factor like lava, okay? They're going to redline you out. That's it. You're just going to end up having to either pay huge sums of money or have no insurance or something. It's nothing new. I mean, I do believe I can trace back a history line back to somewhere in the 1980s where the insurance companies started to raise red flags. Yeah. They were waving them already back then. Yeah, 40 years ago, man. They were waving the flag saying, it's going to cost too much. We're not going to be able to afford to do this. You got to do something about global warming. Yeah. Nobody paid any attention to them. They were the only voice, other than climate scientists. Your climatologists, there was a voice. And then there were insurance companies. They were on the same basic page together. And then there were the oil companies and the coal and gas producers and everybody they had in their pocket that said, oh, no, don't worry, nothing's going to happen. Well, I'll tell you what. Even if the weather or the lava didn't take you out, the insurance company going to take you out for the same reason. Yeah, it's costing them too much. Well, so here we are. People live there because that was the cheap place to live. It's not the cheap place to live anymore. Boy, oh boy, what are we going to do? Well, I suspect that the state of Hawaii, since they helped us get into this situation, probably not going to, leave us holding the bag, I hope, because they really are the ones that got us into that area in the first place. Hopefully they'll come up with some kind of a plan, some sort of subsidies or something that they can do here. I don't know what it's going to look like. That's up to the politicians and the people that crunch numbers. But, I mean, there are ways. Yeah. But, unfortunately, this is only the beginning, all right? Just the very beginning. Because I do believe you're going to start to look at insurance companies creating maps of red line areas for fires, for rising surf, for shoreline problems, hurricane zones, etc., places where it just is starting to cost them too much money. They're going to create maps and they're going to redline areas, and if you're in those areas, it's either going to cost you a fortune or you're just going to have to give up on the idea that you got insurance, period. This is happening and will continue to happen. And I guess, people could come down and go, oh, nasty old insurance companies. Oh, man, they control everything. Well, I'm telling you, I've been listening. They've been at it for 40 years. Yeah, you've been hearing it. You've been hearing it. It's out there. They're going, look out, look out, look out. Yeah, they've been warning us for a long time, and nobody really paid any attention. Not that we could have fixed it anyway. These things have flywheels. You get to something the size of the dynamic of the Earth's engine turning in a certain direction at a certain speed, and boy, you better believe me, downshifting it and putting on the brakes, it would not happen fast at all. Even if today we started to do about everything we could think of doing to help the situation, as far as the climate's concerned anyway, I'll be dead and off this planet before it has any effect whatsoever. Which is a problem because everybody's looking at the next quarter, they're looking at the next election, reversing climate change and the issues around it could be decades to centuries. Most of us won't live long enough to be able to see anything happen from this, so we run out of patience real quick. And as far as the lava is concerned, there ain't nothing you can do. It's not because of global warming. It's not because we're burning fossil fuels. It's not because we ate too many pigs or something. It just is. These islands are volcanic. It's the way it goes. I don't know. There ain't much way out of that one. Yeah, continue to live in the dangerous lava-prone areas, and hopefully, with a little bit of help from the government, maybe is about the only thing I can think of. Even, but I know I get people talking to me all the time about shopping for real estate here, living in Hawaii, and all this stuff. And I respond. I've done videos on the subject, and but the one thing I consistently and constantly say, stay out of zone 1 and 2. I've said it from the beginning. I'm saying it right here at the end. That's a problem. Town of Pahoa, the majority of it is in lava zone 2. It's considered a hip place to be. It's desirable, I guess. People consider it that way. But it's in a bad spot. So, best suggestion to y'all is, at least for the meantime, stick to zones 3 and beyond. I know the price will be higher in zone 3, but you'll more than make up for it with what you might have had to pay for insurance. Now, this is... I speculate. I have no figures. There's no way right now, I think, for me to easily verify this, but I have a good thought, and that is that there's a large amount of people that live in zones 1 and 2 who don't use building permits. Okay. Yeah, it stands to reason. If you're going to go in these dangerous regions anyway, because the price of real estate was cheap, who's going to want to buy a building permit and follow the laws? You may as well just continue on down that road, put up a shack and live in it. So I suspect there's a lot of buildings down there that are not permitted. Well, you can't insure a permitted building, unpermitted building anyway. So who cares, right? Yeah, if you can't insure your house to begin with because you didn't permit it, who cares whether the insurance company's pulling out? It's going to be kind of interesting because I'm pretty certain that the county has stopped issuing building permits for some of the most dangerous areas down there. Must be, because they have also turned around and they've been buying back the land from people that bid it in the last flow. So if you lost your property down there during the last eruption, the county has been buying it back. I don't know, I think my buddy Jim got $22,000 or something for his couple acres out of the county down there. He don't own it anymore. House gone. The insurance couldn't pay for the house. County bought the land back. Well, they started buying land back like that. There's no way they're going to be issuing more permits to build on those areas. And so we're not only losing insurance companies, we're losing possibly the building permits to be issued there. And if you can't get insurance, then if you're planning to sell, nobody can get a loan. This really messes everything up pretty bad. And if you are paying, say, 1,000 to 400% over what you used to pay for your insurance, then that makes the land in zones 1 and 2 more expensive to live on than the lands in zone 3. So, of course, it doesn't make any sense to be moving into 1 and 2 in that case. Just don't do it. But it doesn't mean that sooner or later somebody isn't going to redline 3 too. This could happen. Yeah. Well, it's hard to say. There wouldn't be any good reason for it. They haven't had lava up here in 7,500 years. I haven't had it for thousands of years in this particular location in 3 where I'm at. So I consider myself to be quite insurable. But the whole business of getting a permit to build, getting a loan to build, and then insurance, you can't get that loan without that insurance to build. And if the insurance is costing that much money, I don't know if I was a bank if I'd want to be loaning on it even. So the insurance companies are putting a real kibosh to what's going on down that neck of the woods. Let's just hope that our elected representatives and our governor have got some kind of good idea. That was all we needed to hear on top of the Lahaina disaster, because you can bet they ain't going to want to be insuring in there either. And there's a whole lot more regions around here that are as dangerous to live in as Lahaina was because of drought. Okay, folks. Aloha. I have no answers here, just more information. Okay, stay out of 1 and 2.